The right timing is very critical. One of the biggest events that farmers look up to is when it's going to rain. If you plant before it rains, you're going to lose your seed. If they lose their seed, that's almost losing their annual income. The primary source of information for most farmers in rural areas is either radio, or they have to wait for the government agricultural extension officer to come in and deliver that information. That doesn't happen very often. In some areas across Ghana, we already know that there's going to be 50% less rain. This information helps government, it helps NGOs and food companies and people like us to provide services like irrigation and advice to help farmers prepare for this adverse climatic condition. These farmers are very critical to global food security. They feed 1/3 of humanity. There will be 9 billion of us on the planet. They have to increase production by 70% more to feed all of us. So it is absolutely essential to make sure we get them the information in the language that they understand.
Welcome to Meet the Leader. I'm Linda Lucina, and I am excited to introduce you to Alloysius Attah. He is the CEO and founder of Farmerline, and that is a special technology that is helping small-scale farmers prosper. How are you, Alloysius?
I'm well. Thanks for having me.
You grew up on a farm in Ghana. Can you tell us all about that?
So it's actually quite common for people to grow up on a farm in Ghana. If you don't grow up in the big cities and you grow up in the cities outside of Accra, there's a very high chance that you are connected to small-scale farming. That was my story too. I grew up in Ho. My auntie was a small-scale farmer. So I'll go to school on the weekdays, and on the weekends, I'll go to the farm and support. She grew maize, cassava, and some vegetables as well.
And tell us what a day is like, just so we can kind of have a picture of this. Most people have no idea.
Most farmers like my aunt, they live in rural areas, in places without internet access. They love to, consume content in a language that they understand. The primary source of information for most farmers in rural areas is either radio, or they have to wait for the government agricultural extension officer to come in and deliver that information. That doesn't happen very often. So most of these farmers rely on historic knowledge that's been passed down, from mouth to mouth. These farmers are very critical to global food security. They feed 1/3 of humanity. There will be 9 billion of us on the planet. They have to increase production by 70% more to feed all of us. So it is absolutely essential to make sure we get them the information in the language that they understand.
And what sort of challenges do they face when they don't get the information that they need?
One of the biggest events that farmers look up to is when it's going to rain. So farmers actually wait. When it's June, they wait for the rains to come before they plant, because only 5% of small-scale farming is actually irrigated in Ghana, which means that small-scale farmers rely on the rain to plant. They knowing when it's going to rain is extremely crucial to the kind of yield that you're going to get. So for instance, if you plant before it rains, you're going to lose your seed. Remember, some of these seeds that farmers bought it with loans. So it's very critical that that seed germinates. So they wait for the rains to come, they plant, they have good yield. The rain doesn't come, the yield gets affected. For instance, in some areas across Ghana, we already know that there's going to be 50% less rain. This information helps government, it helps NGOs and food companies and people like us to provide services like irrigation and advice to help farmers prepare for this adverse climatic condition.
And to give people a better sense of the problems that can come to farmers if they make the wrong decision, right? If they have the wrong information and they make the wrong call, that can be very disastrous.
If they lose their seed, that's almost losing their annual income, especially for farmers that depend on their farm to feed their family and to pay for their expenses. Planting at the wrong time and losing your seed means that either you're going to have a reduced yield or you're not going to have any yield at all. If farming is your primary source of occupation, which is true for most farmers across Africa, just planting at the wrong time means no food, no money throughout the year, right? Remember, a lot of the farmers don't have money throughout the year. They often go for loans to then invest into their farm. Those loans are used to buy seeds, high quality fertilizer. So the right timing is very critical. Getting the wrong information could mean that somebody's going to lose their income for the year. And that's really serious.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about Farmerline? What is it and how does it work?
Farmerline was founded a decade ago. It's a digital marketplace for small-scale farmers. And it does three main things. Number one, get information to farmers in the language that they understand. Number two, leverage their agriculture and climate data to attract more capital into small-scale farming. And finally, connecting farmers to market locally, but also market outside of the continent. That's what we do. All this is digital. We end up with a lot of data that also helps large food companies that are sourcing from the continent to fulfill their sustainability goals, but then also their compliance goals as well.
What are the impacts to having this technology? How does it help?
From the perspective of the farmer, we've done research in 2023, and we realized that farmers in our network increase their yield and income 2.5 times as compared to farmers that are not in our network. The difference is the farmers in our network get access to information, high quality fertilizer and seeds, and then we also connect them to market. Farmers that are outside of our network either have access to one of these or none at all. So just having the bundle of services increases yield and income by 2.5 times. And that's on the farmer side. For the businesses, with the risk using data and intelligence, we also increase the ability to predict all the variables in the supply chain. So ability to predict child labor, ability to tell if a farm in their network is on a deforested land. All that intelligence helps them to source better, but then also to comply with rules like, the EUDR.
Your solution helps 2.2 million farmers, is that correct?
2.2 million farmers. We worked with over 3,000 partners across 50 countries around the world. We've digitized 3.2 million acres of small farms. Basically what that means is that we can tell what's happening on the farm. We can tell the regenerative farming practices that's happening on the farm. We can tell the soil condition. We can tell the above ground carbon stock based on the practices that are happening as well.
You mentioned that this is something that's available in their local language.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Maybe even let us know the full span of languages that are available and how important that is.
That specific tool, we call it DALI AI. It is the 911 for farmers. It speaks 27 languages. 20 of those languages are African. The reason why it is very critical is that a lot of the AI innovations that are coming up, they are yet to prioritize the 3,000 local languages that are spoken in Africa and other emerging markets. DALI delivers information in the language that people understand. So we support, in Ghana, for instance, Tree, Ewe, in Kenya, Swahili, in Nigeria, Yoruba. Research shows if you give information to people in the language that they understand, adoption goes up by up to 60%. So but merely giving information to farmers in the language they understand, they're able to adopt. Another thing also that DALI does is that it takes the information and makes it available on demand. So a farmer can get information in the night, whether it's raining or whether there's rain, the sunshine, whether there's an extension officer or not, they can get access to that information as well. The final thing that DALI does is also helping to detect crop diseases offline for about 10 major crops in Africa. So cassava, which is a major staple, cocoa, coffee, and many others. So, an extension officer can go into the field, take pictures of what is happening on the ground, and in real time know the disease that is there and also make recommendations. This is something that didn't exist, at least at scale on the continent, and we built that. And the goal is to make sure that farmers get all the information that they need, but they also get the support, the human support from the extension officers as well, to make sure they can grow high quality food that also takes care of the environment.
How is Farmerline also leveraging artificial intelligence?
Farmerline leverages artificial intelligence in 3 ways. So number one is we taught AI to speak African languages, and then we taught it how to provide in agronomic advice. Time magazine named that innovation one of the best inventions of 2024. We also leverage AI to accelerate more financing. Only 12% of commercial lending goes to agriculture in Ghana, largely because most of the financial institutions still require some form of collateral to finance farmers and agribusinesses. But there's a lot of information that farmers generate. Information on their yield, information on their historic sales. All that information can give anyone a view on the opportunity, but then also the risk in financing. The idea of using alternative data sources to finance is not new. FICO has been doing it for years. We are basically just bringing that to agriculture. So we use climate data, agricultural data, information about the farmer, the agribusiness, people who are buying from them to show the opportunity and then the risk, and then get more financial institutions involved. And we're very happy to report that many local financial institutions are now lining up to work with us to finance our customers directly off balance sheet. And for us, that's a win. And we are very proud of that.
And why is that so important?
Access to capital is very important. All the things that they need to grow good food while taking care of the environment has been invented over 100 years ago. The challenge is access and affordability. So organic fertilizer has been invented many, many years ago. High quality seeds, solar irrigation, All these things are already there. We know that if you give irrigation to farmers, they can increase their yield and increase their income by multiple folds. The challenge is the ability to afford it. The financing schemes don't support them very well. Farmers have money maybe 6 months out of the 12 months in a year. So making sure that they have flexible financing, not just affordable, flexible financing that is tied to their seasonality goes a long way and drives adoption. And when they adopt, impact happens, right? Teaching them, giving them the money to grow the food, but then also connecting them to markets so they can make money as well.
How would things have been different if you had a tool like this when you were growing up, or how would things have been different even for your auntie?
Yeah, I remember one story. My auntie used to grow yam. My village, we celebrate yam festival because we grow yam a lot. It was almost near harvest. She worked really hard, got the right fertilizer, got the right seeds, grew the yam. When it was time for harvest, she lost it to pest and disease attack. She just was not in a position to predict that those pests and disease were going to affect the yam, and that was going to cause her to lose her yield. I remember her crying. Some of those images stayed with me. If my aunt were to have a solution like Farmerline's Dali 911 for farmers, leveraging climatic data, agricultural data, she would have had some point of view. She would have gotten some level of warning that would have given her the chance to respond. Her tears was because of the potential loss that she was going to suffer. Her tears was loss in income. The tears was loss in status. She was the best yam farmer in our village growing up. She won awards multiple times. She losing her yam because of pest and disease attack means that she's not going to have the best yam. Those tears were loaded, and it stayed with me. It's been 25 years now, but I still remember that story very clearly.
Absolutely. Was that a turning point moment for you, or was there a turning point moment for you in starting Farmerline?
My auntie played a big role in my decision to start Farmerline, but not for the reason I just described. She always made me believe that I was destined to do something great, and she made me believe that once I finish college, you get a job, then you can't take care of us. When I finished college, I saw an opportunity to do both, create a service that can help her, and then also make money at the same time.
What was the moment that you decided, hey, this is a problem, and I'm the one to solve it?
Another moment was when I got my first computer ever in my life, 2009. I was in college. That's one other moment. And then the final one was when Sir Tim Berners-Lee's foundation was training young coders in Africa how to use digital tools to solve problems. So I went to that training. That's where I met my co-founder, Alloysius Attah. And then they asked us to use all the new skills and tools that we've learned to solve a problem that we care about. I didn't know I cared that much about agriculture. Well, I do now because of my aunt. But, that's how I got into it. I didn't even hesitate, raise my hand like, hey, let's create a solution that helps people like my aunt to make money from their farming. Because I know when you talk to farmers, they want to create wealth. They want to grow more food, they want to create wealth. And because I know my aunt wanted to create wealth, I saw an opportunity to create a solution that could help her to make money. And we didn't have all the solutions at once. We started with an information service, and then over time evolved into a financial platform that uses their data to finance fertilizer and seeds, and then also connecting them to market as well.
You started it with $600.
Yeah.
Where did that $600 come from? Savings or whatever? Did you and your co-founder pool it? And then what did you spend it on?
So the boot camp that I mentioned, our idea was the best idea, and they gave us $600 from the coding boot camp that was organized by Mobile Web Ghana and Sir Tim Berners-Lee's foundation, Worldwide Web Foundation. It may seem like something small, but for us, it was a seed that birthed something that has gone on to raise millions and millions of dollars, that have gone on to attract funding from the likes of FMO, Acumen, Oiko Credit, RippleWorks, and the likes, joining the mission. Yeah.
Was there a moment in running Farmerline and getting it started where you hit a wall? All entrepreneurs do. There's a moment where you're like, gosh, I don't know how we're going to go forward after this. What was it like for you? What was a wall you hit?
The wall we hit were in 2021 and 2022. The first one was COVID. This was my first job. Never worked for anyone. I've never built a business through in a global crisis before, right? So it was a weird moment where the harder you work, the worse things got, right? COVID made cost of financing go up. Supply chains were disrupted. But I'm like looking back, I'm very proud of how our team responded. We doubled down. We got like people were like, "Hey, slow down," but we doubled down. We grew. Another one was when the Russia-Ukraine conflict. It may seem so distant, but it's actually really connected. When that happened, the price of Africa is a net importer of fertilizer. When the conflict started, the price of fertilizer tripled, which meant that farmers couldn't afford it, which means that for us as a business, our margins has reduced. And we just like closed venture capital, raised all this money to work. So it was one of the most challenging moments because the way I respond to challenges as a leader is just to work hard. And when it came to macros, like, no amount of like your personal hard work could change your currency's performance against the dollar. No amount of my hard work could change inflation. That was at like 40% at the time. No amount of hard work could change the price of fertilizer on the market. So it was an incredibly difficult time. I actually got burnt out as a result of just like pushing. But I'm smarter now as a leader. And at that time, we were caught unaware and we reacted. But this time we have, thank God to our investors and shareholders, we have enough systems and processes in place to respond to any global challenge that may come up again in future.
What are some of these systems and processes that you have, if you can, just to kind of, that you built that you wouldn't have imagined you ever would need, but yeah. What are these?
Like the first thing is just like realizing that agriculture, like solving the problem of agriculture is a team sport. It's not going to like take one company like Farmerline to solve it all. It's going to require government to play their role. For the first time in a decade, we've had governments talking about AI for agriculture and large food companies like Nestle and Cargill all having this conversation at the same time. And they're not just talking about it, they're putting resources, like heavy resources behind it. So for us, like it means that we didn't have to build the rail line and then build the train at the same time. Let me explain. We didn't have to go digitize all these farmers and train all the farmers. We can collaborate with government to have a national farmer database. We can collaborate with government to have a 911 for farmers. And we can just leverage that. Just like how hospitals are able to use 911, like they didn't have to build it themselves. They just use a shared public infrastructure. Other things also is like working with local financial institutions, making the business case for financial institutions to see that, hey, when you put money into agriculture, you can get your money back. And the opportunity is huge. And we will work with you to de-risk any risk that exists. Also working with large food companies as well. They care about farmers in the supply chain, especially for the cocoa, coffee. They buy a lot of it from the continent. They want to work with companies like Farmerline. So for me, this is just like a great time to be alive. To see everything that we've prayed for the last decade come together. Governments stepping up and willing to do their part. Large food corporations also willing to do their part. And they're willing to work with agtechs like Farmerline to help de-risk, to help improve predictability, to help support the farmers, but more importantly, doing it in a way that is good for the farmers, increase the farmers' income, but then also protects the environment at the same time.
You mentioned a database of farmers. Did Farmerline collaborate with the government to create a database?
We are working on that right now. We've proven that we can digitize 2.2 million farmers. We've proven that we can launch a national helpline that has sent about 8 million messages to farmers. And we have data about 100 million seconds of interactions. Farmers calling, asking questions, learning, expressing their frustration. All of that sits on our server. We are heading into the age of AI. We're heading into the future of predictability. We are leveraging all that information to help governments, right? So for instance, we met governments from Togo, from Rwanda, who are asking for these solutions for the first time in a very long time. So our hope is to get into some of these partnerships and create a win-win solution that actually helps the farmers to, one, have an active national database, a database that's alive, that can tell what farmers are growing, where they are growing, who they are, what's the size of their farm. Like basically having like a national pulse on your food security. Those are some of the things that we are doing with government around the continent here.
And how will that help, say, in the next crisis? If there was another issue with spiking in fertilizer prices, how would a database of all the farmers and everything they're growing, how would that help you?
We've seen some of the global fertilizer companies that are asking about building factories on a continent. Having information on what farmers are growing gives you a view on the amount of fertilizer they're going to use. Having information on the soil and then the nutritional components of those soil gives you a view on how to compose your fertilizer as a manufacturer, right? So that database can drive investment. Today, it is really, really hard to do. Today, if you want to build a factory to build fertilizer in Africa, you need to hire consultants to go to the ground. But we have enough data that can give some preliminary information to people that want to manufacture this fertilizer in the country. If it is manufactured in the country, that could get a price down by up to 30%. Because remember, some of the biggest cost drivers of fertilizer has been transportation. That transportation is charged in US dollars. So every time I look, any currency performs bad against the dollar, that means the price of fertilizer is going to go up automatically, which means yield may go up or go down, and price of food in the country is also going to go up as well.
Is there a piece of advice you've always been grateful for?
I mentioned something about solving the problems of agriculture being a team sport. That's something I have to remind myself every single day. And forming strategic partnerships that are win-win goes a long way. So agriculture is a team sport. Forming strategic partnerships with all stakeholders, a win-win strategic partnerships goes a long way in building a team that allows us to give ourselves a fair chance in solving some of the major problems that we're facing in agriculture.
And what should leaders prioritize?
Wellness. Leaders should prioritize wellness. Wellness for themselves, wellness for their employees, wellness of their businesses. I've learned that the hard way. This is what I'm choosing to do in 2025. I'm still ambitious. I'm still going for gold. I'm still working hard. But the number one priority is that, you can't do anything about the future if you don't get there. So take care of yourself and give yourself a chance to be well and be part of the future and contribute to, the solutions that the world needs.
Very good. Thank you very much, Alloysius. And thank you so much to our listeners and our viewers. For more video podcasts, go to the World Economic Forum's YouTube page. And for more podcasts and transcripts, go to our website at wef.ch/podcast.